Hello peeps and peepettes, this is Spec Son of AllWaysWrestling.com and also of the Dangerous Alliance, here with the Secluded Paradyme number 25 featuring Johnny B. Bad. Well, if you want a character, a wrestling character, in a combination of James Brown and Little Richard, you definitely got that in Johnny B. Bad, aka Mark Merrill. The former three-time WCW World Television Champion is the subject of the Paradyme on this occasion. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you shortly with the Secluded Paradyme number 25. Hello everybody and welcome to the Secluded Paradyme, the 25th edition of this program. I am Spec Son, the host, and as you can see on the marquee, the featured star of the program will definitely be former WCW World Television Champion and former World Wrestling Federation superstar Johnny B. Bad, aka Mark Merrill, when he was with the World Wrestling Federation, the Wild Man. It's a huge pleasure to discuss Johnny B. Bad on the Secluded Paradyme, and I know many of you are probably saying, you know, Spec, you've done a lot. You have done a lot of Secluded Paradymes, a lot of shows featuring a lot of wrestlers. Why would you pick Johnny B. Bad? Well, I choose these wrestlers specifically not just because they're some of my favorites, but because their stories, and specifically Johnny B. Bad's story, in my opinion, over the annals of time, has been either misconstrued or just been manipulated by the masses in terms of how his career was, for the most part, in the world of professional wrestling, especially in the world championship wrestling. You know, Johnny B. Bad was a very flamboyant character, a character that really beamed to the television set. And I remember the first time that I saw him, and ironically his debut in WCW, which was at my favorite WCW pay-per-view of all time, WCW Super Brawl 91, in May 19th, 1991, at the Bayfront Center in St. Petersburg, Florida. The same card in which Tatsumi the Dragon Fujinami lost to Nature Boy Ric Flair in the WCW World Heavyweight Championship match. And of course, the epic tag team match featuring the Steiner Brothers, World Tag Team Champions at the time, against the Total Package Lex Luger, who was the U.S. Heavyweight Champion at the time, and the one and only Sting. Those were the matches that headlined the show. But within that show, I believe you won't see this actually on the VHS, but I know you will see this on WCW's on WWE WWE Network. If you are subscribed to that, Johnny B. Bad being featured onto the show. He didn't wrestle at all, but they were beginning a feud with him and PM News, who was another WCW superstar at the time, the Rap Master. And Teddy Long came out with this guy by the name of Johnny B. Bad, with the boas, the feather boas, with the makeup, looked like he was a knockoff of James Brown, which he pretty much was. It was apparently was a creation of Dusty Rhodes' mind, and we all know how his mind can be with the creativity that he had. But it was something that just permeated throughout the television set, looking at this flamboyant character who apparently had a background in boxing, a former Golden Gloves champion up in New York. I won't say hands of stone, but he definitely had really fast hands. He would exhibit that against his opponents frequently, and he always would state that he is so pretty he can't possibly be beat. like Muhammad Ali, of course. So he was like a hybrid of Muhammad Ali and James Brown. We're very weird with the character, but to me it worked. And Johnny B. Bad, aka his real name Mark Merrow, really did a good job with portraying that character. And throughout 1991, as the year progressed, he was featured in the WCW Light Heavyweight Championship tournament. Not many people remember that. And he was also featured in just very minuscule storylines, really, that really didn't enhance his character as much as it would as the years would progress. But he made a very sound impact in the world of professional wrestling in WCW in 1991, which was, even though I love it and it's my favorite year in WCW, it was a very lean year for the company. Ric Flair leaving the company. A lot of these, Jim Herd, who was the executive vice president of World Championship Wrestling at the time, that many people, even to this day, even back then, despised, came up with a lot of, crazy gimmicks. I mean, you have Oz, who was, of course, Kevin Nash, eventually transforms into Vinny Vegas. You had Diamond Dallas Page, who Jim Herd wasn't a creation of, but he did sign the guy, and he was kind of one of those misfits in action. You had the Diamond Stud, who was, of course, Scott Hall. Had the Ding Dongs, the Rap Master PNUs, and then Johnny B. Bad comes on. He's the latest of these Jim Herd era type gimmicks to venture into the realm of professional wrestling. But 1991, just to wrap up that year for Johnny B. Bad, his move that he debuted with was that left hook, the kiss that don't miss. He would perform that, and it looked very legit too. I mean, guys really legitimately looked like they were taking that hit. But of course, we know better as wrestling fans. Johnny B. Bad, aka Mark Merrow, just really knew how to sell that punch in terms of actually, executing it. But he didn't have a whole array of moves. His style was very basic. Your headlock, your heel-like, maneuvers around the ring, pulling the ropes. Holding the ropes, pulling the tights, things of that nature. But his left hook was very devastating. You didn't want to get caught in that. Very similar, I wouldn't say very similar, but Michael Hayes had that left hand that he would hit somebody with. And Johnny B. Bad had the hook. But somewhere along the line, as we ventured into 1992, Teddy Long transitioned into more of an announcer role for World Championship Wrestling, and Johnny B. Bad separated himself from Teddy Long, and he eventually was about to begin a face turn, which would have been extremely helpful for him, and it was, and proved to be throughout the early stages of 1992. But then he became injured, and he was out on the shelf for a while until he came back, and that's when WCW really started to put a lot of their eggs in the Johnny B. Bad basket, so to speak, and push him as a top contender and even a holder of the WCW World Television Championship. And without a doubt, and arguably speaking, if you look between the years of 1993 all the way on to 1996, early 1996, when he left the company, Johnny B. Bad was really the anchor of the World Television Championship scene, or at least one of them. And in terms of the babyface capacity, he definitely was the man in terms of the World Television Championship scene. And then you had the ranks of the Lord Steven Regal come into play, and he eventually, him and Steve Regal, Johnny B. Bad and Lord Steven Regal had some phenomenal matches in World Championship Wrestling in the year 1993 and 1994 that do not get talked about enough from among wrestling purists and just casual fans of that era. Those guys really tore down the house on a lot of shows that were very captivating and very, very appealing. So, Johnny B. Bad, as the years went on, became even a better worker. He was very green at the beginning, but as late 92 came into play, and throughout 93 and 94, I would really even argue with a lot of people if they deny this or even try to argue with me about it, that he was one of the main stays in terms of the mid-card scene in World Championship Wrestling. The guy very seldomly had a very bad match or a bad match at all. Guys like him and guys like the Natural Dustin Rhodes, Stunning Steve Austin, Brian Pillman, Those guys were very underrated talents that did not get utilized as much as they should have gotten utilized. Even though Johnny B. Bad was getting a push, he never rose above the World Television Championship scene. He could not get any further. It was as if he was stuck in that division, which is sad in a lot of ways, because Johnny B. Bad had a lot of charisma. He had that the bad blaster that used to shoot out confetti. I remember being at a house show in 1993 with him against Michael Hayes, out of all people, to open up the show in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. And just looking at Johnny B. Bad's persona, looking at him shoot up that blaster, it was really cool. And it was something that really just gravitated me more to the guy. Ended up having a picture taken with him and also getting an autograph. Really cool moments that this eight-year-old at the time really dug. Another feud that doesn't get talked about enough is his feud with Diamond Dallas Page in 1995, which was really stellar as well, involving the Diamond Doll, who is Page's wife, Kimberly, or his ex-wife now. That was really compelling. You could really say, and I think this is really accurate, Johnny B. Bad was really the first guy that Diamond Dallas Page was paired with that gave Page the rub to move forward and become even a bigger star than he was before. Or really the star that he wasn't yet. Because, Diamond Dallas Page had the storyline with him and the Diamond Doll, and Max Muscle obtaining all of this money throughout, at a casino. And it was really the Diamond Doll who obtained all these millions upon millions of dollars, and then Dallas took credit for it, and then Max was his bodyguard. And then you had this guy in Johnny B. Bad who was the World Television Champion. Page wins the World Television Championship, and it seems like he has everything intact. But what we eventually see, what turns out to be, is that Page is a crook, Page is a liar, he's a conniver, and he wants everything in the world. But Johnny B. Bad wants to show him that, you got a big mouth, you treat your woman wrong, and I'm going to shut you up, and you try to hit me and beat me up and take my title, and you succeed in taking my title. Well, A, I'm going to get your title back, and B, I'm going to rescue the Diamond Doll. And he eventually does this and succeeds in doing this, and the Diamond Doll is released from Page's captivity, so to speak. She's out on her own to choose what she wants to do, and she eventually goes with Johnny B. Bad and becomes Johnny B. Bad's valet. And this leads to a partnership in which Johnny B. Bad is the World TV Champion. She is his valet. And this continues to happen until 1996, when Johnny B. Bad leaves World Championship Wrestling without signing a contract, which I believe at the time Eric Bischoff actually wanted him to sign. And he decides to go to the World Wrestling Federation as Wildman Mark Merrow, and debuts at WrestleMania 12 in a feud with Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who just got destroyed by the Ultimate Warrior in that same pay-per-view. And he brings his wife Sable along the Wyatt ride, as well as Mark Merrow. And, the rest is pretty much history for those who remember that time period. But eventually Mark Merrow was actually going to turn heel, if I wasn't mistaken, and he left the company shortly before the storyline could really be produced in a very thorough fashion. And this was all before the NWO, months before. But Lex Luger became the World Television Champion, and really proceeded to do nothing with the belt after he won the championship. So, Johnny B. Bad is a very captivating figure, in my opinion, when it comes to the World Television Championship, and also what he did in the professional wrestling industry. When he was Johnny B. Bad at WCW, the guy was really one of those guys, just like Steve Austin and Brian Pillman, who you think are going to continue to ascend up to the top. But unfortunately, due to politics and some other factors, he wasn't able to get to that full level of superstardom. When you have the likes of Hulk Hogan, when you have the likes of Macho Man Randy Savage, when you have the likes of the former Earthquake come Shark John Tenta come into play, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you tend to be pushed down the card a bit. And although guys like him and Dustin Rhodes, Brian Pillman, and also Steve Austin were ascending, and Lord Steven Regal were ascending in the ranks between 93 and 94. When those superstars came into play, and when you had Eric Bischoff moving a completely different direction, those guys suffered, greatly in terms of moving up. But between the years of 1991 and 1996, I don't think you're going to find a better mid-card wrestler like Johnny B. Bad that was a babyface that connected with the crowd. And although throughout shoot interviews as the years have went by, stated towards Johnny B. Bad not really liking that character that he was portraying, I wonder how much validity is in that, because he did a darn good job at doing it. And for the 4.5, 5 years that he did do it, he did it quite splendidly. And it's still remembered to this day. You can watch a Johnny B. Bad match with Lord Steven Regal, a Johnny B. Bad match with Stunning Steve Austin, a Johnny B. Bad match with Diamond Dallas Page, and all the storylines that consumed those matches, led to those epic matches. I don't see how you would not like it. They were really good. I mean, him and Brian Pillman tore down the house at a WCW pay-per-view back in 1995 that I still love to this day. A lot of good stuff, a lot of great stuff came out of that character, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I want to just talk about it for a few minutes here for the Secluded Paradyme 25. I'm not going to go into what he did as Mark Merrow in the World Wrestling Federation. It's pretty self-evident. He didn't last long there. It's sad that it was only about a 2.5-year run there. That's memorable in its own right, but there's a lot of stuff that's not memorable. But I just wanted to discuss Johnny B. Bad, the character Johnny B. Bad in World Championship Wrestling, which to me is one of the most underrated characters of the 1990s in any organization in the world of professional sports. Very captivating, very entertaining, very fun, and he improved and got better and better, and he seemed humble and also willing to work and to ascend to get as good as he could. And I look back at that time period with a lot of fun, a lot of funness, and a lot of happiness too. So thank you very much for this brief edition of the Secluded Paradyme number 25. Not as long as some of my other editions, but I'm going to try to keep a lot of these next Secluded Paradymes that I do. It's the first one I've done since the tail end of 2013. I know it's been quite some time. Featuring the late great Sherry Martel, which was on the 24th edition. I've got a lot of good stuff coming up for 2015 with B-Spec Productions, my company, and also with the Secluded Paradyme Spec commentaries. A lot of the cool things that are going to be happening on this wrestling-based channel. Keep on the lookout for it, because I got a lot of good stuff coming as well, and also interviews with pro wrestlers as well, as I go around indie organizations, and also I go around major wrestling promotions, World Wrestling Entertainment, all those cool things that you may see me on some videos as well in the near future. But please look out for the Secluded Paradyme. Please look out for Spec commentaries. Those two are going to be staples in the year 2015 on B-Spec Productions. But without further ado, thank you very much for tuning in to the 25th edition of the Secluded Paradyme. My name is Spec Son of IYHWrestling.com and also of the Dangerous Alliance. Thank you very much. Be spectacular. Credits roll.
I was from sunrise, here in the heart of darkness, where even demons fear to tread. Restraints that hold you down and render you helpless. Behind a wall, a child's cry. If you should